Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here. Afternoon edition of the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion as we take a look at a very complicated setup here with TD number 13, TD number 14, and this implication that land masses could be impacted by these systems and maybe two threats to the United States very close to each other. I cannot remember when we've had something like this happen. Certainly I haven't had to deal with anything like this in my career. That I can recall, not this close together. We've had some back-to-back storms before. I remember in 2004, Tropical Storm Bonnie made landfall in the panhandle of Florida on the 12th, I think it was, and then the very next day, the 13th, it might have been the 11th that Bonnie made landfall. I'll have to go back and see. But it was Tropical Storm Bonnie followed by Hurricane Charlie, a very powerful hurricane on August 13th. We definitely remember that day. But Bonnie was a more sheared, disheveled tropical storm. I can't recall when we've had two potential hurricane threats to the United States within a day or two of each other, and certainly not on the same day. I mean, that would really be, I think we could use that word, unprecedented, if we had two hurricanes making landfall within the same 24-hour period along the United States coastline. Truly remarkable times that we're in, and it just keeps getting more remarkable. So let's take a look at what we know. And I got to tell you, wow, looking at TD14 here over the Northwest Caribbean Sea, and this is where we expect this to happen. Upper ocean heat content, very formidable and very plentiful. You can see the outflow, that's that feathery look to the clouds here. The banding that's going on, the center of circulation right in there. It won't surprise me. Recon is out there right now. The fantastic job by the men and women of the United States Air Force Reserves that go out. I know some of these people personally, and they go and they fly these low-level invests where they go through an alpha pattern and other methodologies that they use to gather data. And just looking at this, it's not going to surprise me if by 5 o'clock Eastern this gets upgraded to Tropical Storm Laura. Look in here, you can see some of these. Let me get rid of me first of all. Goodbye. And let's stop it on that last image there. These little thunderstorm towers right here, these hot towers as we call them. Just a fancy way of saying convection, which is also a fancy way of saying thunderstorms. And they're right near the center, trying to blow up near that center of circulation. And this is well on its way to becoming a named storm, and of course the name would be Laura. I don't think TD13 is going to make it to named storm status today. Lots of lightning. I'm glad now that I mentioned the Caymans in my discussions recently to get people's attention, to make sure they were watching this, because lo and behold, we do have some showers and thunderstorms in that vicinity. Currently a big cell right there over Jamaica with some lightning strikes being picked up from a developing tropical cyclone in the Northwest Caribbean Sea, or the Western Caribbean. Just remarkable to see, and we knew this was coming. Here it is. All the signs are there for this to go on to strengthen. In the meantime, TD13 holding its own, a vigorous circulation, no doubt about it. You can see that right in here. This is a little bit more disheveled. There is some dry air. There's some shear going on still. So this is having some trouble organizing. But it's getting there. And overall, the models that do develop this don't show much happening until it's in the vicinity of and passing the Northeast Caribbean Sea right over in this vicinity. And I think it's going to pass to the north of these islands, hopefully. And we're going to see just a very complex, interesting situation coming up over the next several days, to say the least. So, again, on the theory and the theme, it's not a theory. So many words I want to say. Going along the theme of what we know. And I think that's a very important thing to keep in mind. Let's look at what we know, and then we can look at what we don't know and how that works in terms of forecasting and understanding what might impact us. All right, so what we know, we have these systems, they're out there, they're trying to form and whatnot. We do have them. And we also know that the water temperatures are very warm. The ocean heat content is formidable. Let's use red here. So TD13 is going to generally move in this direction, something like that, over the next few days over very warm ocean temperatures. There's no question about that. And they actually get a lot warmer. And it's not so much that they get a lot warmer as the upper ocean heat content is more plentiful. The warm water goes down deep into the ocean, so it can get churned up, and you're just churning up more warm water. We also know where 14 is in this area, that's going to be moving towards even higher ocean heat content values, some of the highest in the Western Hemisphere. And then if it goes into the Gulf, anywhere in this area, let's say, this box I've drawn, you have a cone of uncertainty where here's Mark's box of upper ocean heat content. Okay, that's all very high upper ocean heat content, and that even goes right up here to the coast of Louisiana for what it's worth, and that could be worth a lot. That could be a big deal. So we know all of these factors. We have these pre-existing systems, 2 depressions, fairly well organized in an environment that's favorable. Ocean temperatures not a hindrance, etc. There's some dry air, and so you have to just logically conclude that these are going to continue on to strengthen. And if 14, which presumably will be Laura sooner rather than later, gets into the Gulf up here, anywhere in this area, the actual sea surface temperatures, and that's what this map shows. This is not upper ocean heat content. These are not anomalies, departures from normal. This is what we see from satellite and other data sources of what the temperatures actually are. And looking at the legend, all of this green through here, and even down here, bound by this line, which is called an isotherm, or a line of equal. Iso means equal, therm, temperature, whatever. That's 30 degrees Celsius or higher. All right? So all the way up here towards the northern and north central Gulf, the water temperatures are even warmer, 31 Celsius in some cases. And then even warmer than that near Mississippi, and also very, very warm. We're talking about 88, 89, 90 degrees Fahrenheit in those oranges and reds. So a lot of fuel, and it's definitely time to start thinking about hurricanes if you live in a pretty big area. Anywhere along the Gulf Coast over here, there could be a hurricane coming your way. Big question mark. We don't know for sure. Out here out of the Atlantic, maybe a hurricane for Florida. The Bahamas off the map here. You just got to start thinking about it. There's no other way around it. It's not hype. It's not scare tactics. It's the reality that these two systems are organizing, and every moment that I am talking and every moment that goes by, this sounds obvious, but the clock has already begun ticking towards zero. So if you live in these areas where these might track, again, no freaking out. No, these are not Category 5s yet or anything like that. They're not even hurricanes yet. So now is the time to take a deep breath and just say, yeah, I'm in that cone of uncertainty for these systems. I'm in the area where they could affect. What do I need to do? This is the time to do that. This is the time. And if you waste that time, you're going to be very stressed out later. All right, so what I want to do, and we could look at the entire suite of computer models, and this would just be a very long video. We know that there's been this strange going on, or strange goings on, plural, seemingly with the GFS and the Euro, the ECMWF, that they don't really develop these systems much, and they appear to be playing catch up. And that seems to be the way it's been all season. So maybe there is something amiss with the global models this year. I don't know. I don't have time to worry about it right now. And so what we need to do is, again, and I'm learning this more and more from my colleague Greg, is let's look at the pattern, okay, and pretend like there's a hurricane in that pattern. Because if we can think in that mindset, it'll help us to understand what we need to do. If you just look at the deterministic models, which is what this is, the Euro, the operational deterministic model, and you take it at face value, it might not do you much good. Because if you look at that and it says, oh, nothing's supposed to happen, and you have a confirmation bias that you hate hurricanes, You hate people talking about hurricanes. You don't like the hype around hurricanes. You're going to be more biased towards believing the models that show not much happening, because you don't want to have anything to do with hurricanes. And that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, getting angry with people for talking about them, there's no reason to do that as long as they're being sensible. And then on the other hand, if you get very excited about hurricanes, and that's a natural thing, there's nothing wrong with that either. You're not sick, you're not twisted, you're not demented. No one that I know wishes for Michael-type destruction, Maria-type destruction, the flooding that a Mitch 1998 can do to Honduras, Nicaragua, killing thousands of people. No, we don't like that. Of course not. But there's this inherent excitement, that comes with it. It's neither bad nor good. It just is. And some people hate it, and they get very upset about it. And some people get very excited and obsessed about it in kind of a weird way. And it is different. I understand that. And I have a vested interest for a lot of reasons. I've made a business out of it. I'm deeply fascinated with these hurricanes. I've studied them for a long time. So understand the overall pattern. And don't worry about, well, it only shows whatever, millibars. It's backing way off. Forget all that. Let's look at the pattern and see if it makes sense to have a hurricane. All right? So we looked at the pre-existing. That's here and here. We looked at the fuel. The fuel is there. The fuel is there. Check, 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 check. What about the pattern? Well, we know, and this is the euro from today, the 500 millibar layer of the atmosphere, about, 18,000 feet up or something like that. I'll use white so this sticks out. And so this is the initial conditions from 12Z today, right there, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I think we'll use sky blue. That'll pop out. All right, so here's the initial conditions. This is the outline of the ridge for the most part, at least at the 500 millibar level. These are your isobars down at the surface, your surface pressures. This is a weakness in the ridge, kind of a leftover trough there. And other players we can pick out. Way off here, off the side of the screen, is TD13. Here's TD14 over here. All right? So let's move this out 24 hours. So this will be valid Friday morning. There comes TD13, and not much reflection at the surface. It doesn't show up very well. There's what would presumably be Laura, and it's moving through the Caribbean 24 hours out, and I think it's probably doing healthier than the euro is showing even here. And then that weakness is still sitting over here, very well defined in the pattern. Go out another 24 hours. This is now 48 hours out, sorry. 13 is somewhere over here, very, very weak overall. This is what would be presumably Laura over here, TD14 now. And look at that ridge there, sticking its nose in, more than its nose. Very large nose, right? So strong ridging here, and this is what I'm talking about. So 13 would be to the south of that. And this is what I was talking with Greg about. When you see these to the south, or underneath, as we say, these ridges of high pressure, in the pattern like we're in now, they should develop. And that's what we're seeing from these hurricane models. I've seen a few people besmirching the H-WRF and the H-MON on social media, and hey, that's fine. In the United States and other free countries of the world, you can besmirch all you like. Just keep your facts straight is all I ask. That they always overdo it. They always overdo it. It's like, well, they don't. And Max Mayfield, National Hurricane Center director for many years, has this adage, well, they always do except when they don't. And so that's the key, is trying to figure out when they don't. And the H-WRF's done okay this year, and the H-MON as well. I don't have time to go in and prove to you the verification scores. Every situation's different. But I can tell you, they've been very consistent, at least for the last 24 hours, maybe longer. All right, so even though the European here shows very little with 13, and a little bit more here with 14, just looking at what we have out there now, there's no way that 14 is only going to be at 1,005 millibars over high ocean heat content in this kind of a pattern when it's doing so well today. I don't believe that. And that's just looking at TD14. So the pattern suggests stronger. So something has to be going on with the model. I don't know. I'm not the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, so I don't know what could be, quote, wrong with it. But anyway, that's 48 hours. 72 hours, you can barely even see where 13 would be. Somewhere in here probably. That ridge just gets stronger. And that would be to the southwest of the ridge over very warm water. There's 14. And again, I'm just not buying that it's going to be 1,005 millibars when it looks like this today. You know, why in 3 days is it just going to be the same? With that incredible outflow that we see, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see, won't we? So let's move out one more frame to 96 hours. Oh, here we go. Now the Euro says, boom, 987 millibars. That would be a hurricane. And where's TD13? It's somewhere down here, which is very interesting because that's generally where the other models, the HWRF, the HMON, and even the GFS to some extent, has it. And where is it? It's on the southwest corner of that stout ridge over very warm water, height of the hurricane season, August 24th. I mean, come on. Now, maybe this one is so intense that the outflow from it creates shear, because there's probably going to be some kind of an upper level low that forms as a heat sink to evacuate that air. And we're getting into some dynamics here. So if this is stronger, this is going to be weaker. I just truly believe that. Unless they can separate enough or this stays small enough. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. But usually, when one is dominant, the westernmost one, that outflow screws up the other one. And that's, you know, most people know that follow this stuff religiously. So that's 96 hours at 120. I mean, it goes, what, to 998? It weakens on the way in towards Texas, I guess. Why would it do that? Makes no sense. Very warm water, hardly any reflection right there at all from TD13, and then there's another system moving through there. You got to be kidding me. So the pattern suggests that one of these systems is going to strengthen significantly. The HWRF here for TD13 says, so to speak, it doesn't speak, but you know what I'm saying, it forecasts that within 48 hours here, there we go, slowly moving along, a lot of people hitting Levi servers. 48 hours out, 13 should be quite well organized. And pressure down to about 995, pretty well organized there. This is the Virgin Islands. These are the Virgin Islands, however you say it. There's Puerto Rico. So here's what we can do. 48 hours out, that's just 2 days from now. Let's look and see. And if it's like that, then we can go, the HWRF was on to something. We don't need to know 5 days out, the end game. Let's look and see what it looks like in just 48 hours, maybe even less. But 48 is a good timestamp, all right? Same thing with the HMON. And we talked about that earlier today. Jump it out. Let's just click on it, shall we? 48 hours out for the HMON. What does it show? Come on, try to click that away. Thank you. Not quite as well organized, and about 1,004 millibars. So maybe that's more realistic. Same general vicinity for the most part. Yeah, it's not too far off from where the HWRF has it. These are the Virgin Islands over here. So it's a little bit more north and east. So when does the HMON really start to ramp it up? Because it does. Let's just take a look. And we can try to verify this out into time. Let's get rid of me again so we get out of the way there. So that's 57. Let's go to 72 hours. There we go. So by 72, the HMON says, I need another day to the HWRF. And I'll drop the pressure down to about 994. Pretty well organized. and it's in the Bahamas here to the north of Cuba. All right, so I think that's a good way to approach this. Let's look at the overall pattern. And that being said, as I try to figure out what I'm going to do with the people that help me, gut feeling, pattern recognition, I don't know what you want to call it, but I feel like TD14, probably going to be Laura here before too long. I think that one is the one that I'm most concerned about, and until further notice, as they say, until my mind is changed. And I just presented to you why. That it looks the best so far right now. It's moving it into a pretty favorable environment. It's out ahead of everything. I don't know. I think that's sort of the sleeper. And so you folks in Texas and Louisiana especially, probably the upper Texas coast, all of coastal Louisiana, I really want you to pay attention to TD14 very closely, because there's something about it that bothers me. That it's getting its act together pretty good right now. I think it's ahead of where the euro is showing. You know what I mean? So let's don't sleep on that system thinking that all the attention is going to be on 13, because it might be headed to Florida, where millions of people live in South Florida. And I understand, but it's also millions of people, around 7 million people that live in and around the Houston area. The entire Harris County area, that's a lot of people. It's around 7 million. Yes, that's true. Look it up. And so, we got to watch it. 14, that's where I'm going to put my money right now. How am I going to handle it? We'll talk more about it tomorrow, the game plan, etc. Basically, let me just say this. We have, because of our crowdfunding support over the years, especially these last 3 years, and to refine it even further, the last 2 years, have accumulated an incredible amount of technology. Literally, our supporters purchasing equipment and sending it to me to implement in the field, so they are a part of it, okay? And in return, it benefits the greater good. That's the idea here. So we have the ability to set out anywhere from 12 to 20 live camera units, 3 anemometer systems, really high-end weather stations. R.M. Young is the company that makes them. Look it up. R.M. Young anemometer. They're incredible. And 20 pressure sensors. Honestly, and some of you who are watching know exactly what I'm talking about, because you are the ones that purchased them and sent them my way. We have enough equipment to be in 2 places at the same time. That's going to be, I'm going to have to see that to believe it, that there would be 2 hurricanes hitting within days of each other. That's really hard to do. But if it happens, we're going to figure it out. Hopefully Brent, our partner and supporter from the Virgin Islands, is going to fly into Miami tomorrow. It's all a matter of if he can get out of there in the Virgin Islands. He's in St. John. My colleague up here in Wilmington, his name is Mike Farrow. He's going to help me tomorrow. And we're leaving tomorrow. We're going to head probably down I-95 to Jacksonville, Lake City area, and see what's up and be ready. I'm going to load up. I've got a Ford F-150, a brand new Ford F-150 that I have rented for the next 9 months. Honest to God, for real. Got a great deal and everything through Thrifty. They really needed the rental. I needed a vehicle, so we made an agreement. And so thumbs up to Thrifty for helping me out there. And it literally has like 300 miles on it. It's the F-150 Laureate Edition. And my old Chevy Tahoe is a forgotten memory. That's how that works. It's an amazing truck. Are you listening, Ford? We're going to load that thing up, and we're going to take everything. My garage is going to look complete. My wife's going to be like, did he move out? I mean, woo. And maybe she'll be like, yeah, he moved out. No, I'm just kidding. We just had our 24th anniversary. It's all good. But it is going to be very empty in that garage. And by hook or by crook or some other phrase, we will, my team and I, set up all the equipment necessary. Hopefully going to meet up with Greg Nordstrom. I mentioned him already. He's in Gulfport. You can't make this stuff up. And I don't think Greg will mind me telling you this. Greg is closing on a house with his wife. Closing, like a real estate closing. He purchased a house, or is getting ready to, in Gulfport on the 24th. No kidding. So, it's like, so he's really concerned that maybe something comes his way and you close on the house at 3 p.m. and a hurricane, whatever, right? You see where this could be going. So hopefully everything works out and Greg can join us and we'll have 4 people working all this out. We'll have 2 vehicles. Brent's going to rent a vehicle. Anyway, that's the game plan. Where are we going to be? What are we going to do? I don't know exactly. But I know that the first step is I'm going to just follow what I was saying. And I'm going to put my money, if I had some chips, I'd put the chips on 14. It's like roulette, right? And there's 2 numbers. That's it. Spin the wheel, and every one of those things is 13, 14, 13, 14, 13, 14. It's like black and red, and then there's 2 greens, right? That's what I'm thinking. And I'm going to put my chips on 14 right now, and we'll see what 13 does. With the caveat that I can change my mind. As Brent said, it's going to be very dynamic and very changeable. I think he's right, and he's already seen that. He sent me a text that the Coast Guard might be shutting down the ports there in the St. Thomas area, and he's got to get out of there tomorrow. So there you go. No answers. I don't have the answers, but I gave you some good advice. Maybe go back and watch the video again if you need to catch it all. I mean, that's the beauty of this, being on social media, is you can do that. And we will all ruminate about it together. Try to figure it out as we go along. And, luck favors the prepared. That's my mantra. I will stick with that. All right, so I am on Twitter at HurricaneTrack. YouTube, that's growing. I appreciate it. Social media there. And then you guys on Patreon, you're the ones that are funding this. Thank you very, very much. If you want to get involved, tomorrow I'm going to talk about how it'll benefit you. I'll be putting together a separate video all about Patreon, what it means, what you get from it. And I'm telling you, it's going to just knock your socks off. And if you're already a patron or one of our longtime supporters, way back when we started the live video 15 years ago and had to develop a membership site to fund it, you know. And what we're doing now in 2020, oh my goodness. It's on a whole new level. And I'm not just saying that. And anyway, we'll talk more about that as the time comes. Thanks for watching as always. That part is what's, to me is the most awesome part. Spending your time with me, I do appreciate it. Have a good rest of your afternoon and evening. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. We'll do it all over again starting tomorrow morning.